Hello, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We're going to give just a couple of minutes to let folks get from that last meeting and get in and get settled, and then we'll get started. So just give us a minute or two. If you're just joining, we're going to wait just another probably 90 seconds before we get started, just letting folks get out of that last meeting and get settled here. For those of you just joining, we're going to give it probably another 30 seconds, wait till 2 minutes after, let folks get out of that last meeting, get settled, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know a few folks are just coming in and getting settled. So thank you for being here and joining us in this live session today to talk about what's new with the Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud and FinDock. And it's great to have so many of you here joining us. So thanks for being here. Now, today I am joined by my colleagues. So first of all, I guess I should introduce myself. If we haven't met before, I'm Jessica Hood, and I am leading our introduction into the US and Canada, the AMER segment. So very excited to be with you all today. And I'm joined by my colleague, Dan Kingsley, who leads our industry solutions team, as well as product manager, Klaus Kustra. So we'll be sharing a lot of knowledge with you today about the Nonprofit Cloud and FinDock, and we'll also be taking questions and answering those questions as we go along, and also have some time for Q&A at the end. In fact, if we're going to talk about what we're going to do today, this is our agenda. So when we talk about what's new with the Nonprofit Cloud for fundraising, a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is going to evolve around the upgrade campaign attribution, the URL generator, gift entry, and experience cloud. And if you haven't been in one of the sessions that Salesforce has done about that, they certainly have them out on the partner community, so you can kind of catch the replays out there. We're also then going to go into the FinDock product evolution. We want to share with you kind of how we approach that, as well as our roadmap development and what part you can play in that. And then, of course, Q&A. So certainly use the chat feature as we're going throughout the session today. We'll have time at the end as well. And probably the number one question asked at any session is, will we be sharing the slides after? Absolutely, we will. All right. So first, a huge, huge thank you to all of you for joining us today, but more importantly, for partnering with us in general. Many of you are from our registered partners and have worked with us over the years serving the nonprofit sector. And working together, we've helped hundreds of charities and nonprofits be able to increase their impact. And because we are a product company, we couldn't do that without you. So thank you to each and every one of our partners. And we now have 28 registered partners and growing in the program. So we're excited for that. And we also launched last year our formal partner program at the very start of the end of last year. So, or the very start of last year. So we've got more folks coming on board. And if you aren't a part of it yet, and we haven't spoken about it, please reach out. We'd love to have you join us and sign up. Now, as part of that program, we have 292 trained consultants across those partners, which is great. They've gone through our FinDock Academy and have implemented FinDock. And going along with that, speaking of training, we're excited to share that we've added self-paced learning to our FinDock Academy. So now you can enter the learning portal and take that self-paced lesson at your own schedule. So we'll share some links later on how to check that out. We're also super proud to have helped our customers process over 60 million transactions, which is about 2.75 billion in managed revenue in the last 12 months alone. And of course, we couldn't do it without our partners, just like you, working with our joint customers on their success. So thank you to you as well. Now, as we dive in today, I'm just going to take you back for 1 second because I know we have some new folks on the phone. We started our journey at FinDock with a mission. We wanted to be able to unlock the innovative Salesforce technology for nonprofits and be able to do that for organizations of all sizes. And that's why Boz, our founder, and I know many of you have had the chance to meet him, left Salesforce. He truly believed that he could make a difference and make technology available to any organization doing good. But once he got on that journey, he found something bigger was going on, and especially in the payment session. It had everything to kind of do with that. And so when we started our journey there, believing that payments are really a customer-centric process or a donor-centric process, and they really should be managed from the heart of your CRM. So whether you want to call it a donor profile or a customer profile, it needs to be in the heart of where you're managing all of that data. And so by doing that, so much more is unlocked. Being native on the Salesforce platform gives nonprofits full visibility into their donors. It unlocks opportunities in terms of marketing and doing this all inside their full view profile of their donors. Being native not only unlocks the power payments, it also unleashes even more of what organizations are investing in Salesforce for, whether we're talking about their investment in flows and journeys and automation, having their analytics right at the tip of their fingers, and even branching out into AI. So again, since I know we've got a few new folks that have joined us today, just to give a kind of a quick overview of FinDock and what we do before we jump in. Because one thing, and maybe I should have said this with the agenda, is we are really going to be focusing today on what are those new pieces. So we're not going to be doing an end-to-end FinDock demo. It's going to be focused on the areas that are new. If you haven't had a demo and you need one, reach out and I'll make sure we get you set up. Now, unified payment solution built on Salesforce. That's what FinDock is, bringing all of that online, that offline payment data into your CRM and being able to use it and run it from your CRM. FinDock is improving the payment process to create donor-centric experiences. So accepting payments in multiple ways, multiple methods, even multiple currencies inside a single org so an organization can adapt and optimize for donor preferences. From managing recurring donations and card payments to one-off payments, as well as handling all of your offline credit card processing from phone or from mail via the Moto terminal, FinDock's global solution is bringing together a consistent approach for all of our nonprofit customers. And of course, there's payment operations as well. Now, we're all hearing from nonprofits that they're really having challenges around managing their workload while trying to raise more funds. So with FinDock and the Nonprofit Cloud together, fundraisers can automate processes. They can have that real-time reporting, and they can create operational efficiency all while raising more funds. And they're doing all of it right inside of Salesforce. Now, today we're going to talk about fundraising, but I know many of you work across multiple types of nonprofits that might fall into subscription or might have a housing use case. But I also know that you'll work in other industries as well, and FinDock can help there too. I mean, after all, we are payments on Salesforce. So if you got questions there, absolutely reach out. Now, we were super excited to be invited by Salesforce to join the Design Partner Program alongside many of you and helping their product team shape the Nonprofit Cloud and really create a solution that we hope that you'll agree with, really answers the needs of the sector and sets up nonprofits for increasing their impact and raising more funds, and especially from the perspective of that fundraiser experience. So it's been really fun to be on that journey together. And now as we get to Nonprofit Cloud for fundraising, this fundraising solution built for fundraisers, since we're all familiar with it, we're not going to dive down into what this is, since, it launched back in October, we've all been checking it out. But what I'm going to do now is hand it over to Dan Kingsley to talk about what's new and how FinDock helps extend these offerings with our payment layer that's native on the platform. And while Dan takes over and I stop sharing, I am also going to just remind you that you can ask any questions as we go along in the chat. And then we'll probably maybe take a couple if they make sense going through, and then we'll definitely have time at the end for Q&A as well. So with that, let me turn it over to you, Dan.
Great. Thanks, Jessica. And hi, everyone. Great to be with you all. I'm sure I've met many of you on different calls over the past few months, but if I haven't, my name's Dan, and I lead our industries team here. And I'm just going to take you through some of the new things from Salesforce around Nonprofit Cloud. But I guess firstly to say, Salesforce did an amazing enablement on this latest release, the Spring 24 release, back middle of January. And I just highly encourage that you go and watch that if you haven't already. 2 sessions across 2 days, going into the depth of some of what I'm going to highlight and bring out today. So I'm not going to go into all the detail because that's what Salesforce's job is, but I want to pull out things that are relevant, particularly to fundraising and particularly to where FinDock comes in. So in that session, this slide was shared, and this is just a great overview of some of the new fundraising highlights. And on this right-hand side is the things I'm just going to cover off in some detail today. I want to start with the campaign, the upgrade campaign attribution. And for me, as a fundraiser previously to joining FinDock, this is something I'm really excited by. And this is something that by default isn't that easy, hasn't been that easy in the past to do in Salesforce. And the simplest way for me to explain this is to talk through an example. For those of you who have worked with fundraising clients for years will get what this is solving, but for others, it might be new to you. So I want to just walk through an example. So here we're going to have a gift commitment. This is the recurring donation in the Nonprofit Cloud world, if you're still new to that. And in that gift commitment, we've got a gift commitment schedule, let's say $30 per month. That's associated with a campaign and a source code, the campaign that generated this new gift commitment. In January, we get that first $30 gift. In February, we get the next one, and both of those gifts are associated with that campaign. That's pretty standard. We've been able to do that for many years. But let's imagine the nonprofit then does an upgrade campaign, and they phone this donor, and part of this campaign, we get a new commitment. Instead of it being $30 per month, it's now $50. And with that, what we want to now do is separate out. We want to still attribute some of that money to that first campaign, but we want to attribute the upgraded amount to the second campaign, the upgrade campaign. And so now when the March donation comes in, we're still going to attribute $30 to that first campaign, but we're going to attribute the difference, the new amount, the upgraded difference to that upgrade campaign. And then again, the following month. And that's really a summary of what this new feature that Salesforce has enabled allows. And it allows us to really grasp the benefit and the cost that has kind of been saved by doing these campaigns. And often upgrade campaigns cost quite a lot of money. Often they're manual in terms of outbound phoning. And so this way we're able to really attribute the cost to that and see the value that we're bringing and hopefully encourage more of those campaigns to happen. And so I'm really personally excited by this. And from a FinDock point of view, this is great because this is all native core on Salesforce. This is features that you're only able to really harness if you're managing those recurring commitments also from Salesforce. And so with FinDock being able to manage those gift commitments, having those gift commitments trigger the collections out to your payment service provider is all about what we're providing. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a bit. Next up on the list is a URL generator, the ability to really create a URL that's specific for a giving page, pre-filling things like a campaign and the source code. To be honest, this is something that FinDock has been doing for quite a long time. So we're kind of like, this is great. It's a great new feature, but it's not really something new for us. I actually think Salesforce are going to continue to iterate on this and bring more features to it, which I'm excited to see. But let me jump in and I'll talk you through our giving page edition and how that kind of falls across and connects into the gift commitment. As Jessica said, I'm not going to go into the depth of everything today. I just want to give you a few highlights and show you around some of those new features. And so here in Salesforce is FinDock's giving page builder. Earlier, I built this giving page for this fictitious nonprofit called Complex Planners, and everything is done within Salesforce, built on a few different templates, and we can customize lots here. And over here, you can see I've set the campaign already to a campaign called Save the Rhino. But if I now publish this page by clicking this button up here, and if I go to it, we get a live giving page. But this can be sent out maybe via Marketing Cloud, via email, via whatever method you want. And we can also pre-fill URL variables. So I'm actually going to override that campaign. I'm going to pre-fill first name, surname, email address. So this page is personalized to the donor it's going to. Let me just refresh this page because it's been sitting here for a little while. And let's go through and set up a new monthly commitment of $25. So here we can see Evelyn's details have been pre-filled to save her having to type them out. And here I get the options of different payment methods. And this is where FinDock really comes in its own, because we're able to offer different payment methods through different payment service providers. And so we're able in this situation to do a recurring card payment, but we equally could do an ACH direct debit, or we could do a recurring PayPal gift. Lots of flexibility here. But I'm going to click donate. And at this point, we're going to use a Stripe sandbox to set up that recurring card payment. I could do Google or Apple Pay, but in this situation, I'll just do a simple card payment. And so we're going to store that card, tokenize it, and thank the donor for their new gift commitment. And so the power of FinDock here is that this payment data is coming straight into Salesforce. It's not on some third-party system. So if I come across into Salesforce, we've got a nice list view of new gift commitments today. And all being well, if my demo's gone smoothly, we will now see that new gift commitment landing in Salesforce. You can see the campaign, you can see the source code, you can see the schedule down on the bottom. I'll go into all the details of what's happening here because a lot of this is standard nonprofit cloud, but you get the picture. We've deduplicated that donor. She already existed on the system, and we've created this new gift commitment alongside it. FinDock then will now automatically start collecting those gifts on the day that they're due, pushing those payments out to be collected, in this situation, to Stripe. We use what's called a payment schedule to do this. And if you've seen me demo before, you'll see me actually walk through this in a more slow step. But I've just pulled up on the screen here a completed schedule, which shows we've actually had 2 collected donations. Unfortunately, the last one failed, I know, due to insufficient funds, where we're able to trigger all sorts of different journeys to that donor to try and get that payment back in another way. But we've got full visibility of those payments, and Salesforce is the source of data. And what that means is all that great new feature around upgrade campaigns and being able to manage all that is also being used here. And so this component, which we can see in the middle of the screen here, is a new component that's come out in this spring release. And this enables that upgrade feature to really be used. And so this enables us to see upgrades, downgrades, the differences, and this will in turn trigger those attributions to those campaigns when those donations come in via the roll-ups. And so there's a lot of power here, and I think Salesforce has done a great job of really visualizing it and bringing it to life. So if I move down my list a little bit further, a few of these I'll just give a little bit of a nod to. And so a big part of this release has been around their fundraising business processing API, which, to be honest, because FinDock's native on Salesforce, we don't need to use. All our payment data, all our data that I've just shown you is all on the Salesforce platform. It's using the standard data model from Salesforce. And so when a new donation is made, we're just pushing that data straight into Salesforce. This API is really designed for those platforms that are off Salesforce, processing payments outside of Salesforce, needing to put that data in. But for us, as Jessica said right at the start, we believe that payments are a customer donor-centric process and should be managed from your customer profile. And so for us, we want to enable that native payment processing within and on Salesforce. The next update, there's been some updates to the gift entry side of things. And I think this is a great opportunity for me just to go in and talk to you a little bit more about a new feature that FinDock's added since we launched the FinDock for fundraising back in October last year. And so we now have support for gift entry with our virtual terminal or Moto component. So let me show you that. So for those of you who haven't played around with gift entries in Nonprofit Cloud that much yet, most of it is built around flows, which is great. And so we've been able to customize the Salesforce gift entry flow. So most of this is standard Nonprofit Cloud to some extent. So let me go through and create a new donation for Evelyn. I've set some defaults here, and so I'm going to do a $30 donation. This is going to automatically split the designations based on the campaign. And because we've selected credit card as a payment method, FinDock's virtual terminal is going to appear, and I can get given the option to reuse a stored card if I already had one, or I can manually enter some new details. So let me do that. And I can simply click take payment. This will push that collection out to Stripe for collection. We'll get confirmation it's all good, and I can move on and process the next gift. So let me now do one for Ashley. Let's do 50. Same process here. In this case, I will use a stored card. Take the payment. All done. I can move on and continue to process my batch. Clicking done takes me back to the gift entries that have been processed. You can see we've got gift transactions all created from those. Those payments have been automatically collected and thanked based on automation setup. Super quick overview, but hopefully give you some into the power of FinDock's virtual terminal and now integrated into gift entry. That gift entry flow, because it's a flow, because we've made changes to Salesforce flow there, we've actually released it as part of our FinDock Labs, which is you can access via that GitHub link on the screen there. We've got some other flows that we've adjusted and made your lives easier as implementation partners, really, to install those flows alongside the FinDock implementation to allow you to continue to customize them. Last few things on the list for me to cover briefly. I'm really excited that Salesforce have now enabled a cloud for all or majority of the fundraising objects. So things like the gift commitment and gift transaction that up until this release weren't available on Experience Cloud. And so for years, we've had customers building out donor portals, member portals on Experience Cloud using the Salesforce data model. FinDock fully supports Experience Cloud. We're Experience Cloud enabled with our API, and so you're able to use it to take payments. But here we're able to now build donor portals based on the new fundraising data model, which is great. So I'm really excited to see some of you hopefully build out some donor portals and Experience Cloud solutions based on the fundraising features from Salesforce, as well as hopefully using FinDock to enable payments to be taken. And lastly on the list, 2 new pilots. I won't go into much detail now, but personally, I think we've all been talking about Gen AI for quite a while now. So I'm excited to see the first pilot for Gen AI coming to nonprofits, enabling us to create proposals for major donors primarily. And so, yeah, that's coming, which is really exciting, as well as great new dashboards for those using CRM analytics, really pulling together a lot of this data into some standard dashboards, which is great. So let me hand back to Jessica at this point.
Thanks, Dan. So as what we're going to head into now, appreciate all that there. And again, we'll be taking your questions and chat a little bit at the end there. But now I'd like to introduce you all to Klaus Kustra, who is a product manager here. And let me also make sure that everything else is showing. All right, awesome. Take it, Klaus.
Thanks, Jessica. It's great to be here and speaking to you all bit. You see me and I can't see you. But it's great to give a bit of insights under the hood on how we operate as FinDock, the product company. Something we typically don't share. And just to start with the basics, right? So we have a set release cadence where we work in a fixed rhythm where we release every 2 months, so 6 releases per year. Where we once the release is done, we push it automatically through your sandboxes, which allows you as a partner, together with the customer, to experience the new features in a 4-week sandbox period before we push it to production. Additionally, we share release notes at that time and extensive documentation on how you can use those new features. And on top of that, just like today, we always host a webinar in the week after the release goes live, where we deep dive into certain features that are relevant, and highlight key changes that you should be aware of. Now, I highly encourage you to stay up to date on this schedule if you're either implementing or have customers or just want to stay in the loop of what we're building, because there's constant innovation coming your way. You can easily sign up to our release communication, and our release notes will be emailed to you every release. And you can also, if you like watching a video, subscribe to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/FinDock, where we post our webinar recordings after the fact, so you can watch it back at a later time. So no need to sign up. You can just watch it there as well if the time doesn't suit you. Now, the important thing is not how we build things, but what we build. And there we have several sources of input where we value our customer input and partner input very much. It's very important to us to work closely with you, understanding the pain points of your customers, but also talking through customers and combining that with our own market and research and product usage analytics to define what our roadmap looks like. We have frequently worked closely with partners, specifically on new features and enhancements, to either validate our learnings or to understand if we solve the right pain points for your customers. And this comes together in a split between the work we do. So in an ideal world, we would love to work full-time on big new initiatives, but we find it very important to also help our customer success team triage and troubleshoot complicated cases and finding the root cause for that. On top of that, we typically, but this varies a bit across the year, try to spend around 40% of our time on smaller enhancements or bug fixes that typically come from you. So it's project feedback, or it's a issue with a customer that's blocking. And that's also our main goal here. So we want to unblock our customers or customers' projects. And we do this in close alignment with our CSG team to understand what the priorities are and how we can best solve and help you be successful in the project that you run, and how we can contribute to that. Now, 50% or more of our time is spent on large new initiatives and features by either adding new functionality, making us easier to implement, or other big improvements. And I can go on and on about how that's split, but I wanted to take the time to highlight 3 examples of the last few years where we've worked closely with partners or customers or both, in all kinds of ranges of feedback. So we don't only look for big feedback items, but also the small enhancements can make a massive difference. So one small improvement we did last year, like you saw the giving page that Dan showed you, up until last year, you could only set up a one-time or a monthly payment through the giving pages. You could use other frequencies through the API, but customers gave feedback that they said we have a whole bunch of one-time donors who are not ready to commit yet to a monthly donation, but they are willing to set up a yearly donation for a less amount. And by adding this to giving pages, we make it even easier to raise more funds, by converting those one-time donors into recurring donors. And then later with the upgrade functionality that Dan showed you, you can always try and convince them to become monthly donors. Now, one from a lot longer ago, which is I think it's great. So we had a large initiative longer ago where we, through constant customer and partner feedback, it helped highlight the importance of a great FinDock virtual terminal within Salesforce. So we worked closely with our partners and with our customers, where we were able to iterate towards, I believe, still the best component on Salesforce. It's easy to use, as you saw. It gives clear and instant feedback, removing any uncertainty a gift processor might have when they type in the card details. And on top of that, we are expanding the support for other processes at the moment. So definitely look out for the coming releases to learn more about that. And finally, I want to end with one that's not extremely large, but very important to our partners. So we learned from you that granular permissions and permission sets and permission set groups are important. Payments need to be secure, and by adding granular permission set and groups, we help you make the implementation secure, but also easy. We've already launched support for the new Salesforce integration user license type, and there's a lot more to come on the permission side, where on the one hand, if you have personas or users that are standard, you can just use our permission set groups. But if it's a more complicated use case where you have to deal with roles that are combining several jobs, you can easily use the permission sets that are part of those groups to craft your own secure and custom permission sets on top of what we ship as FinDock. These are just a couple of examples. We constantly speak with partners and would love to hear from you. So I want to take the opportunity before I close off with some highlights, just to say, if you have any feedback or just want to reach out or want to know more, definitely do so. We're very happy to talk. And if you're willing to, for example, participate in a usability test, which we regularly do, where we invite partners or consultants to preview a certain feature, and that we can learn from your behavior, you definitely can reach out to me or to Jessica, and we'll get you sorted on that. Now, to end on a high with a couple of highlights from the last year, right? So you've seen the partner program that we launched, which is amazing. But I think the highlight of last year for us was the launch of the FinDock integration with the nonprofit cloud right next to Salesforce last October, where we were present on day one, and we're still iterating on the integration to make it the best integration possible. So definitely look out for what's to come on that side. You saw the gift entry demo that Dan gave, which we added to our Salesforce Labs, which you can use in your projects and alter to your customers' needs. And I think the launch in the US is very exciting for the coming year. As product team, we work closely with Jessica, making sure that FinDock fits the US, and I think there's a great fit already, but there's a lot more to come. And on top of all of this, we have 6 major releases every year with hundreds of stories and enhancements, including ACH direct debit with Stripe, lots of giving pages enhancements last year, and added a lot of new payment methods like BSIM and Twint Recurring, which are local payment methods in Europe, which are important to our customers, and much more, which I can't put all on this slide. Thank you again, and I'll hand it over to Jessica to close off.
Thank you, Klaus. Appreciate that. And congratulations too on all those achievements in the past year, making FinDock better and better, and for, making all the things to make us great in the US too, as well as being ready for nonprofit cloud has been a huge piece of that. Another part of what makes FinDock really successful is these 3 pillars that you see on the slide here. So for customers and partners, it's important that we invest in building out detailed documentation. We're also really big on delivering training. So you heard Klaus mention it. I mentioned at the beginning about the new self-paced training, and all of that is free to our partners as well. So out there and available to you. We feel, again, we focus on the product side of things and you focus on the implementation side of things. So the better we can empower you to implement our technology, then that makes for greater success for all of our joint customers. And of course, having a CSG team that is available not only to our customers, but also, and maybe more importantly, to our partners. So making them available to you as well. And speaking of what is available to you, we do have a number of resources. So for our registered partners, we have access to a full folder of resources so that when you're talking to prospects, you've got the materials that you need. And we're always improving and iterating on that as well. the FinDock Academy that we've talked about. We've got a blog where we write updates and news and things like that, a fact sheet that is keeping those, as Klaus just mentioned, always adding new payment service providers. And that's coming in by request from customers. So we're always updating that fact sheet on not only what payment service providers we're working with, but also what types of new methods we might be adding on for the ones that we're already working off of today. And then, of course, the documentation, and then that YouTube channel. So documenting lots of demo videos. Now, with that, and we'll definitely make sure we follow up and get you links to these resources if you don't have them already. But let's go ahead and open it up to some Q&A. So we've definitely had some questions come in along the way. So I've got Dan and Klaus kind of rejoining me here on the stage to be able to answer them. And perhaps the first one, Klaus, I'm going to ask to you. Is there a formal form to request? I think I might have lost Klaus on the stage.
No, I'm here.
Oh, you are? Sorry.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, I see you. Sorry, my window's bigger. Okay. Is there a formal form for partners to be able to request new features?
No, there's not a formal form. I hope we stay away from formal forms for a very long time to come. So you can just reach out either through Dan or to Jessica if you have a prospect and a question, and they'll make sure it lands in the right place. So we have a regular schedule internally to gather all feedback from all different channels, being it a prospect you're working with, being it a customer that you're working with, and our CSG team, or just you emailing us directly with feedback. We just make sure it's in the right place, and you can just reach out to the person who's closest to you, and then they'll get back to you, or we set up a call to understand your needs a bit deeper, which we regularly do, where we talk to you. So there's no formal form, and I wish we stay away from that for a very long time to come, Jessica.
So we'll keep the conversations flowing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. This next question is about the virtual terminal and credit cards. And Klaus, since you've got the mic, I'm going to go ahead and turn this one over to you too. Where are credit card numbers stored for the virtual terminals? Asking from the perspective of customers whose security policies prevent them from storing credit card numbers in Salesforce.
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I think we get this a lot. Dan, I think you recognize it as well in the UK, that people are asking about this all the time. So we don't store credit card numbers in Salesforce. We only use them to tokenize the card and then store the token and the last 4 digits of the credit card right in Salesforce. So you don't have to worry about that part. And then for the process of tokenization, we have gotten PCI compliancy. So if you need to become compliant because you handle credit card numbers, which is typically the case, then we take away a bit of the burden on the FinDock product side as well. But we don't store full credit cards because you don't need it to collect the payments, and it's a security risk, as you said in your question, and I think that's a great question. So you just can worry about raising more funds instead of all the security that comes with storing raw card numbers inside of a CRM system, which is it's just not required anymore in the current day and age.
Awesome. Thank you. Dan, I'm going to head over to you for the next question. Once FinDock is installed and configured, will it be automatically available as we saw it demoed today for the payment portions, or will that need to be done as setup to be able to see it kind of as we saw it today?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to answer 2 questions because I can't fully figure out if you're asking around implementation for a customer or if you're asking about making it easy to demo to a customer and kind of us enabling you guys as partners to demo. So from an implementation point of view, there's lots of complexity to payments. We try and make our bit as easy as possible, but there's lots of business requirements around it. And so it's really hard for us to say exactly what needs to happen in there, but let's have a conversation and we can talk more around the ease of implementation, the likely how long that's likely to take. From a demo point of view, we're working really hard on actually creating a demo app for non-profit cloud. We're just in final testing stages of it to enable both Salesforce and partners to demo in an IDO. And so we're really happy to help enable partners to demo FinDock to your prospects. We're happy to demo alongside you, or happy to enable you to demo as well. So most of what I share today is just standard functionality out of the box, giving pages, a flow for gift entry, but equally we want to try and make that even easier for you. So let's have the conversation. We're keen to enable partners to demo or help you do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. This question actually could go to either one of you, so I'll let you fight for it. Do we need to set up the payment processor separately or download any connector app of any kind to ensure FinDock works with the nonprofit cloud? Or does it work out of the box for that unless you need additional payment processors?
I'll go for it, it's fine.
Yeah, you go for it.
Yeah, so FinDock has a really modular architecture. So we have multiple packages as part of our installer. So we've got our core package, which gives you the majority of our core functionality. We've got a connector to enable the connection from our core package to nonprofit cloud. We've also got one for MPSP. So you're only installing the things you need to install. And then we've got multiple packages for different payment service providers. So the install process is simply clicking the things you need, pressing install, and all those things get installed. But it means that setup's fairly straightforward. So yeah.
Yeah, so and to highlight a bit of the benefits of that for you, especially in the US, right? So we operate across Europe with constant innovation happening there as well. And if you just have a US customer who is just taking credit card payments with Stripe, for example, through the nonprofit cloud, if we make a change to, let's say, our Norwegian direct debit schema, which is completely unrelated to you, you don't get a new version of the package. So you don't have any impact on either maybe regression testing the customers or seeing if your environment still work, because it's so modular. You just install what you need and you don't need anything else on top of that. And you can always add functionality later or payment methods later if you need them.
And that actually reminds me of something too, Klaus, that might be great to point out here, is that because FinDock has been working in so many countries that do have different payment service providers and different methods and how they fundraise, if you are working with an organization that is headquartered in the US, but also doing fundraising internationally, then reach out to us and ask us about that. Even if you're in like early prospecting stages with them, we have fundraising experts who have been working across all of these countries. I don't pretend to know about gift aid, but what I do is I call my friend Dan and I say, can you answer this question for me? Because it's not something we do here in the US, but it is very big in the UK. And the same with these other different, fundraising styles in different countries. And I know a number of you are working with, again, headquartered in the US, but working internationally to raise funds and having to put those funds back in those international bank accounts. So we can take care of all of that. So we're definitely here to help with that too. Another question coming in. Is there current documentation on FinDock for Nonprofit Cloud? I've only seen the regular FinDock documentation and the MPSP specific documentation. The answer to that is yes, there is a page called FinDock for Fundraising in our docs because it's both nonprofit and also for those of you working with education, it's Education Cloud too. All right, and maybe we'll make sure we get a link in that when we do some follow-up here as well. Oh, Dan, question for you with something that you showed earlier. Can you step through the URL generator in more detail? Wondering specifically if URLs can be generated en masse or is it designed to be done one at a time?
Yeah, great question. So let me be really clear. So FinDock, Salesforce released a URL generator in this latest release. I didn't actually show you that. I'm really hopeful that Salesforce are going to iterate on it and add more features to it. Right now, it's very limited, I would say. Hopefully, I can be pretty transparent in this group. So you're enabled to basically generate a URL at source code level, including the source code and the campaign. Near enough is all you can do. And so to go to the level lower, i.e. the donor level, that's not what Salesforce's URL generator is enabling. I really wish it did, but I think until more information gets sourced around the data cloud piece, the campaign member piece, let's not get into that today. There is a bit of a challenge around where that data is even stored. What I showed you was FinDock's flexible URL pre-filled using our giving pages, which I think is more powerful because you're able to do both campaign and source code pre-fills, but you're also able to pre-fill at the donor level. And so it comes down to how you're doing your mass emailing to generate those URLs, but it's generally just a merge field at the end of a URL. So we've got customers doing this in all sorts of different email programs. Hopefully that answers your question, but happily can delve into it more. But simply, currently the URL generator from Salesforce doesn't work in mass. It's at source code level.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And I think that that is actually the end of the questions we have right now. So if somebody does have another one, drop it in there quickly. I will also say there was a question about, I had mentioned the slides earlier. We did record this and we will share the recording with you as well. So if you want to go back and reflect on that or share it with any of your colleagues, you'll have the ability to do that as well. So if I don't see another question pop in as we do a little wrap up here, I want to give a big thanks to Dan and to Klaus, because it is also very late for them where they are, but they were kind enough to join us on their evenings so that we could make this a great time for our friends on the West Coast here in the state. So I appreciate you both for doing that. And I also want to give a shout out to Chantal on our marketing team who puts together these amazing sessions that we do and is running so much in the background that you can't see both today with some follow-up. So thank you to Chantal and our marketing team. And especially thank you to all of you who are partnering with us on this journey and making native payments on Salesforce a reality for so many organizations that are looking to be able to raise more funds and do it in a really efficient and effective way right inside the Salesforce platform. So thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.